Last week we started learning about Chana, okay, the mother of Shmuel, who is not yet a mother. At this point, she's a barren, elderly woman who is in a lot of pain. And we saw the pasuk describes her as Mara Nefesh. She's bitter. And her husband says to her, how come you're not eating? I gave you a double portion. Am I not better than 10 sons to you, right? I give you so much love. Okay, and again, we spoke about that response off. We contrasted to the response of Yitzchak to Rivka's barrenness, which was on the mark. And today we're going to compare it to Rachel and Yaakov. Okay, what was their interaction when Rachel comes to him? So afterwards, after this conversation where Chana is silent, right? Chana doesn't respond to Elkanah. She goes to the Mishkan, to Shiloh, and Eli is there, and she davens, and it says here, Vihi Moras Nefesh, and she was very bitter. And we spoke about that also. We spoke about being real, being open, actually really davening, not cut and paste, not plagiarizing somebody else's feelings or intentions or consciousness, but developing our own. And just want to add on, that's what we say every day in the Shemona Esrei. Elokeinu, Velokei Avosenu, Hashem is our God, and he's the God of our fathers. Meaning we continue the tradition of prayer that we inherited from our fathers, but we are also adding our unique self. Elokeinu, Ve'elokei Avosenu. Hashem is our Father, we passed down, our God, and we have anointed him as our own God. We do both, okay? We have this double relationship. V'tispalel Hashem u'bachos tivkeh. And she calls out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and she cries, and she's crying. This double lashon of crying means she was crying a lot. Okay, so that was just a review, basically, of what we did last week. We'll add on a few more pieces soon. I just want to mention that I have here in front of me, these are the names of all the hostages, the shvuim. It should be to their zchut. It should be the zchut for all the chayalim of all Am Yisrael, wherever they are. I heard from Rav Melech Biderman. He said in the tefillah that we say Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, right? So how come in Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael there's no Yehi Ratzon, right? We always start our prayers with Yehi Ratzon. May it be your will, Hashem. How come in Achenu we just go right away into the request? And the answer he says is because when we're Achenu, we don't need Yehi Ratzon. When we're united, when there's feelings for one another, when we're Noiseh Ba'ol Chaveiro, when we're in it together, when we're putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes, the words Yehi Ratzon are superfluous. It's of course an Eis Ratzon, of course it's a time of Ratzon before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we don't need this. So it should be a shmira for all of Am Yisrael. As we said last week, Eli thought Chana was shikora, that she was drunk. And we said that that's actually the way that we're supposed to pray. We're supposed to pray like a drunkard, just like a drunkard thinks anything could happen and anything is possible, and there's no limit, there's no reality, right? A person who's drunk that's why they're so dangerous, right? They have no reality. Our prayers need to not be based in reality. And that's what we're davening for right now. We're davening for miracles which are not based in reality. We're davening that every single soldier come back safe and sound in body, in mind, in spirit, emotionally, that all of the captives are returned completely safe, that whatever happened to them, they're able to recover from it emotionally, physically. Those are things which, if you want to be a realist, right, you're not davening for them. You're packing up your bags and you're turning off the lights and say you wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be able to join even on Zoom. You would it's too depressing to even think about the reality. So this is how our prayers need to be, not based in reality, based in the emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Ein Sof, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do anything. Anything is possible. Nothing is beyond HaKadosh Baruch Hu's limits. Hashem has no limits. We have limits. I heard this incredible interview of a woman from Kibbutz Be'eri, which was one of the kibbutzim that was really, really hit very hard. And it was an interview on Chana, which is a very not religious Arutz channel. Thank you. And she had a huge picture of the Rabbi Milubavitch in the background. And they asked her, are you religious? Are you Chabad? She goes, no, what are you talking about? I'm not religious. And they're like, then, what's the deal with the big picture of the Rebbe in your salon? And she said, my daughter was Chozeret B'tshuva. My daughter became Chabad. And my grandchildren have taught me a lot about God and this. And then she told her story. It's an incredible story. She was held up in her mamad for hours. And what was she saying the whole time? I mean, I'm really making it's worth it to hear this story, even if you're not good in Hebrew. Just to listen, you'll get it. Because Devar min halev yotzim min halev. Words from the heart touch the heart. She said the whole time she was saying to Hashem, Toda Hashem, ani mugenet. Thank you, Hashem, I am safe this second. Thank you, Hashem, I am safe this second. The next second, for hours on end, Hashem, ani mugenet. Thank you, Hashem, for sending angels to save me this second. This second you saved me, thank you. Ani mugenet, ani mugenet. I feel your angels, Hashem, surrounding me. And she said this for hours on end. I forgot how many hours, until it was quiet. And then she got this feeling that she has to jump out of the window. Right, I can't tell the whole story. I mean, they were in her house, and they were trying to open her mouth. I'm going to end up telling the whole story.
Most of my money was after no lock on the place. She originally told the daughter, like, this is crazy. There's no lock on this door. And on the door. So they put a lock on it. And then when they came, they couldn't get it, and they were shooting at the door. They're throwing
Rimonim for hours on end. And it's an incredible story. Like I said, it's like there's a lot of amazing details in the story.
They were actually at the door trying to get in all the over there.
And she got this idea that she should jump out the window, and she jumped out the window the whole time. She's saying Ani Mugenet, and she ran into Chaya, like literally outside her window. Chaya took her outside. It was an incredible story, incredible story about just the idea of thank you Hashem. This second, Ani Mugenet, thank you Hashem, Ani Mugenet. And that's again, you have to be a little bit drunk, right? You have to be not really connected to reality to be able to come to that level of real prayer, of emunah, of talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a way which is like Hashem, Ein Sof. Hashem can do anything at any time. I also just want to share something. I was listening this morning to this podcast with her by Y.Y. Jacobson and Ellie Beer and this psychologist who, it was amazing. And one of the things Ellie Beer, he was so positive, was amazing to hear his positivity because he really saw the worst of the worst. But he said, like, we don't even realize how many miracles there were. And I just want to mention one incredible miracle that I thought of, that he mentioned that I keep thinking of and drilling in my mind over and over again, is that they had a plan, and their plan was much bigger than what they did. And part of the reason why that they didn't fulfill the rest of the plan is because when they murdered their victims, they found their credit card. And they were like, oh my gosh, we can go shopping. And they started buying things online, and the money and the orders that they were making from AliExpress or wherever they were ordering from, Amazon, distracted them from Russia and all, distracted them from moving forward in their plan, and saved hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. It's just like an incredible thing that they had a goal, but they got distracted with money. And with cookies from Rechov. So we are living with a lot of miracles, and we're asking Hashem for more and more and more and more miracles, and Shmira for all of the Chayalim, and Shmira for the Shvuyim, and Shmira for all of Am Yisrael, wherever they are. Achenu, B'nei HaGola, our brothers and sisters in Chutz La'aretz, I think they need just as much Shmira as we do right now. They're literally, their neighbors are people who are having protests against Israel, are thinking that we are doing something wrong by wanting to bring our captives back. So Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, we're here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that we're with them. We're sending them energy. We're sending them the energy of this Torah. Our Rabbanit Bazak said that the best thing we can do is for the Shavuim is to see the letters of Hashem's name, Yud and then a Hey and above and a Hey, to visualize it and Ki'ilu send it to them, right? Send it to them. Send them this. You're sending them malachim. You're sending them angels. You're sending them love. To the chayalim, also the same thing, the same way. So yeah. Here, I could send it to Judy. Judy, I'm volunteering here. There's one in English too, if you prefer in English. Somebody translated the names and transliterated the names into English. I have it. If you okay, but definitely, I mean, right? Okay, Beseder. So when we spoke about Chana, we also mentioned that it says here Batidor Neder, that she promised a Neder. And Rav Bazak, not the Rav Bazak that lives here, maybe it's a relative, a different Rav Bazak, he mentioned that this is very interesting. This is the first time in the Torah that we have a combination of Neder and Tefillah. We have Yaakov Avinu that he makes a neder, Hashem b'shafti b'shalom v'besavi v'haisa Hashem Elokim. Hashem, if you return me whole and shalem back from running away from Esav, and he makes the promise. And we have a lot of other promises in the Torah, but we don't have the combination of neder and tefillah. So first we have to look at what is a neder. What does a neder do? So a neder is a very interesting thing because a neder could be looked at as something positive. And a neder could be looked at something negative. What's the positivity? I'm giving something of myself. This is not me just taking, right? But on the other hand, a neder is kind of like, well, I'm only going to do this if I get what I want, okay? So if I get what I want, then I'll do this for you, Hashem. But if I don't get what I want, then, well, too bad, okay? It's not a commitment. It's conditional. So a neder on its own is not an extremely strong thing. This is not let's make a deal, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're not playing. Okay, I know whoever laughed at that, how old you are. Okay, it was this popular game show. Hey, you know what it is? Popular game show. Okay, yeah.
Also, her neder was not like something that we would think Hashem would want. Because when it was her neder, if you don't make me pregnant, I will pretend I'm a Mishtalem.
Right. Well, that wasn't part of the neder. That was more. That's a whole other story of like, what does it mean to threaten Hashem? Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's a third thing. That was part of her prayer, right? Her neder was you're making a very good point. Like, what is this? Like, that's even more than let's make a deal. That's like blackmail. Hashem, if you don't give me what I want, I will make you give me what I want because I have, I'll get to this place. So it's a little bit different, but it also has a big siman sheila, it's a huge question mark on it. What on earth was that? Let's one piece by piece. So the neder, right? The neder that Chana makes is actually not the neder of a full nazirut. He wasn't a complete nazir. A complete nazir doesn't cut his hair, is not allowed to be tamei l'meit, can't contaminate himself by becoming impure by being in contact with dead bodies, and he cannot drink wine. The Nizirut of Shmuel Hanavi was only in terms of cutting his hair, okay? The Nezer al Rosho was different. It wasn't the Nizirut of Shimshon. She didn't promise those things to Hashem, but what she is promising is if you give me a son, I will dedicate him to you. So what Chana is saying is, you give it to me, I'm giving it back to you, okay? And that's really actually what we're supposed to be doing with everything that we ever ask for from Hashem. Whatever we ask for Hashem, we ask for health from Hashem. Hashem, you give me health so that I can serve you. Hashem, you give me parnasa so that I can serve you. Hashem, you give me wisdom so I can make good decisions to serve you. All the things that we're asking for, we ask Hashem to give us things in order that we do mitzvahs, in order that we glorify Hashem's name. Okay, but again, the problem with the neder, or the lacking of a neder, or the Chana of a neder, is that, well, it's only if you give me what I want. So Chana is the first person in the Tanakh who combines neder with tefillah, right? Tefillah is, please, Hashem, I want this, right? I want it. And I'm not saying if you give me, I'm going to do this. I'm asking you for a gift. I'm asking you for no strings attached, just because I need it, just because I want it, just because this is what I feel right now. Okay, so her combination of neder and tefillah makes it not a neder like, oh, you're going to give me what I want, and if not, I'm not going to give back to you. Because A, it's combined with the tefillah, with just the pure prayer, and B is that she's saying, whatever you give me, I'm just giving back to you, right? It's not like Hashem, if you give me a Ferrari, then, I'm just gonna joyride around in it, right? But it is saying, Hashem, if you give me a Ferrari, then I'm gonna use it as a mitzvah tank, okay? That's what it's gonna be. What you give to me, I'm gonna give back to you, but here it's a little bit more extreme, because this is a child, right? So it's not like I'm gonna it's not my child really, it's going to be your child, and that's when he gets his name, and that's Himei Hashem Sha'altiv. I just borrowed him for those first couple. I know I asked for him, and it's asking, and I borrowed him. He was on loan to me, this child. It's not really my child, it's Hashem's child. So, and really in truth, that's really what parenthood is, where our children are on loan to us, right? We're supposed to take care of them. We're supposed to watch over them. We're supposed to raise them. And then, they grow up. They leave, right? They grow up, right? We hope they grow up. And then, then they're their own person when they come a bar mitzvah, when they come a bat mitzvah. And now they're still in our house, right? It was taking care, a lot of care of them in those teenage years. But they're somewhat, now they have their own obligations. They have their own chiyuvim. Right? It's not the same obligation that we had to be mechanech them and to watch over them when they were little. Okay, so that was Rav Bazak's idea. Okay, now then let's compare the way that Chana speaks and Chana's actions to those of Rachel. So first of all, let's start with Rachel. Rachel, what prompts her to really pursue the avenue of having children, the pasuk tells us that Rachel is jealous of her sister. Leah is having child after child after child, right? And Rachel is not having any children. Okay. Chana's response to Penina, you remember from last week, right? Penina, it says Vatichas. Let's read the word. It says in Zayin, V'chein ya'aseh shana b'shana midei olta b'beit Hashem. Cain, and that's what that's what she did every year when they would go up to the house of God, to the Mishkan in Shiloh. Cain tichisenav, she would anger her. In other words, she would say things we read from the Medrash, which Rashi brought. Did you go to the fair today? Did you go to the shuk? Did you see the sale on socks today? Did you buy your son a coat? Right? Did you do any of these things? And that would upset her like very much. So Rachel's reaction was v'tikaneh, she was jealous. Chana's reaction is shtika, she doesn't answer Penina, she doesn't react. Okay, we don't know what she was feeling in the inside except for what we see in Pasuk Yud, v'hi maras nefesh, she's bitter. So maybe we want to say that Rachel was jealous, Chana is bitter. What's the difference between jealousy and bitter? It's a huge difference, right? Bitterness is something between one and oneself, right? Or between one and God. Jealousy is involving other people, right? It's not just about me, whether I have kids or I don't have kids, whether I have a good house, whether I have a good marriage, whether I have a good life or I don't have a good life. It's about me versus other people. Now, which is much harder to deal with? Jealousy, right? Jealousy is much harder because you're involving other people. And that spins their reaction. What's Rachel's reaction? Rachel turns to Yaakov and she says to him, Hava li banim, give me children because if not, I'm dead. As Chana's reaction is, Chana turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu because it's not between her and other people, it's between her and herself and her and God. Okay, that's the difference between jealousy and the reaction, the chain reaction. Okay, and the chain reaction continues more with Rachel because again, Yaakov answers her also not in more, not as nice as Elkanah, but also not as good as his father Yitzchak, right? Yaakov's reaction is, what do you want from me? Go ask God, which is really the truth, right? The truth is, why are you turning to me? You need to turn to Hashem. He's pointing her in the right direction. Like, I can't help you with that. That's Hashem's job, right? Now his father did something else. His father prayed for Rachel. It doesn't say that Yaakov prayed for Rachel. I would assume that he did, right? But not in the same way that Yitzchak prayed for Rivka, for his parents. Okay, so what does Rachel then do?
But doesn't it say because it's like, well, I can't really pray for you because I already have children. And Yitzchak didn't have any children.
Yitzchak didn't have any children, but Yitzchak, Vayater, he flipped himself over. He turned himself over to feel the pain of Rivka. And that was what generated and energized his prayer. And that's why his prayer was answered. Because he felt the pain of Rivka. And that's what it says, Noichach pnei Rivka ishto. Nochach means in the present. It doesn't just mean physical presence. It means he was with her 100%. And he is the last person we would think would be with her because he's Pachad Yitzchak, he's Gvura, he's whatever Hashem gives me, I'm happy with, I don't complain, right? I only say thank you. But all of a sudden he's flipping over. He's turning his whole inside view of the world over to be in the presence of his wife Rivka who wants children. He's fine without children. Yitzchak is fine without children. If God said I don't have children, I don't have children. Period. No questions asked. Everything is like that's. I am the servant of God, and I don't question. I don't give. Tefillah is questioning. When we're davening for something that Hashem is not giving us, or asking Hashem to change the situation, what are we doing? We're challenging God, right? We're saying Hashem, and that's. I'm skipping now just to finish this thought. When Rachel brings in Bilhah, she brings in now a co-wife, and she said, "Ulai, maybe I'm gonna build through her." What does she name that first child? Naphtali. What does Naphtali mean? So she said, "Ki naftalti im achoti," struggled. I struggled with my sister, meaning I struggled with jealousy. And Naphtali also means Naphtali. You hear the word tefillah in that. Tefillah is a struggle. It's a struggle to daven, right? And you could ask the question, why, how could we even daven for anything? If Hashem said that this person, if we believe that everything that happens is hashkacha pratis, is designed and decreed from Hashem, if Hashem said that this person is going to be sick, who am I to challenge God? Who am I to challenge Hashem? Right? That's what Hashem said. Who am I? Me? I should tell Hashem, you're not giving me enough money every month? Hashem, this child is I need nachat from this child? Hashem said no. Hashem said no, you are going to raise this difficult child. Who am I to ask Hashem to make it easier? But that's exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the snake in Gan Eden the worst punishment possible. And that is that the dust is going to be his food. You are never going to need to ask me for anything. We are going to have no relationship. You will always have food. You will always have what you need. You will never lack. But you people, you're going to work so hard, with a lot of pain. We're going to have and raise children, right? You're going to work. This is going to be hard. And you know why it's going to be hard? Because I want you to ask. Because I want you to realize that everything here, everything in the world is all for you. Kodesh Baruch Hu created it for you. But I want you to ask. You know, the same idea of why we say brachos all day long on everything we eat and drink. Why don't we wake up in the morning, the first time we eat, right? We say shahakol, everything was created by you, Hashem. Thank you. Have a nice day, right? Or as when we were kids, when we wanted to get out of benching, right? We would say, rubba dub dub, thanks for the grub, yay God, right? And go on, like we benched, we're finished, right? Why don't we have that? Why do we have this whole long birkas hamazon and ala michya and 100 brachos a day? Why wouldn't one bracha a day be enough? Thank you, Hashem, for all the food. Because that's not the point. The point is not to have the food. The point is not necessarily in tefillah even to get what we want. The point is to build a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's a tremendous struggle. It's building any relationship is a struggle, right? So building a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when I realize I'm dependent on him, everything comes from him. He has my best interests in mind. The Berditchever, of Levi Yitzchak Miberditchev. He says on the pasuk Vayifkod Hashem as Sarah, which we read on Rosh Hashanah. What's the difference between the word Vayifkod? It means the same thing. Remember, Hashem remembered Sarah Imenu. What's the difference between Vayifkod and Vayiskor? We have here by Chana, by Rechov, it says Vayiskor. By Sarah Imenu it says Vayifkod. What's the difference between these two words in Hebrew, which seemingly mean the same thing? So the Berditchever explains Vayifkod means that everything, the Yeshua, everything that Avram and Sarah needed to have a child together was already existed. It was already created. Vayifkod is that they needed to have one more merit to bring it down. And the Berditchever explains that very often we're past Vayiskor. Hashem already remembered us, but we need one more zchut. And each person is something else, right? One of us it's chesed, one of us it's another tefillah, one of us it's saying no, whatever that zchut is, right? Vayiskod, it's all waiting there, and we just need to operate it. We just need to bring it down. We need to open up our hands to receive it. Right? The highlight of the Ashrei is potech et yadecho umazvia l'chol chayrato. Open your hands. What does it mean to open your hands? What's the chamsa, right? What does the chamsa mean? Chamsa means my hands are open and ready to receive Hashem's blessing, which again, going back to what we were saying is shikora, ein sof, right? Hashem could bless me. A person who doesn't believe that Yeshuot are coming, that salvation is on its way, well, they're not open to receiving salvation. Their hands are closed. So if you pour or you give, think about money. I guess that's the easiest thing. Imagine someone puts 10,000 shekels on your closed palm, right? The wind is going to blow it away in a minute, as opposed to an open palm. So a person whose hands are always closed is not open to receiving. And that's a mindset, right? It's a mindset. A person has to be open to receiving salvation. A person has to believe that Vayifkod Hashem and that Hashem is there. So waiting to give them what they need and fulfill their needs, if it's our need, and of course if it's good for us, right? Okay. So then what happens? Rachel, she brings in Bilah, but she also goes and she pursues the Dudaim. When Ruvain comes back from the field with, I think they're called mandrakes, which is supposed to be a flower, an herb, which is very good for fertility. She asks Leah to give it to her, okay, if she could have these. So she tries all of these ways until finally she turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Rachel has a long way until she turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and realizes it's not going to be mandrakes, it's not going to be bringing in Bilah, it's not going to be Yaakov Avinu, it's a different thing. Chana skips most of those steps, right? Chana turns straight to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chana's name is from the shoresh of her name, which could be Chanan, Chet, Nun, final Nun, which is Lashon of Tchina, Lashon of asking, of begging, of pleading. It's words of prayer. Also, the Rashi Tables of Chana are Chala, Nida, Hazlakat Haner. The three special mitzvot of women, taking Chana, lighting candles, and Taharat HaMishpacha, keeping family purity. Those are also her Rashi Tevot of her name. So, Vayaki here betali itpalel ifnei Hashem, ve'eli shomer et piyah. And it was when she was really davening a lot. She didn't finish, it doesn't say that in the pasuk. Before Hashem, and Eli is watching her mouth. Because remember, we said her mouth is moving, but there's no noise emanating from it. Okay? The Chana hi medaberes aliba. Chana is speaking onto her heart. Okay? And also, by the way, it says here, it's brought down in the Medrash that she was praying a lot. Amar Rabbi Meir Mikan. From here we learn, says Rabbi Meir, Shekol hamarbe b'tfilah nene. A person who davens a lot, who keeps davening, he's answered. Michalfa shitisa de Rabbi Levi de Amar Ksiv b'chol etzed yem mutar v'davar sfatayim ach l'machsor. And Rabbi Levi brings the pasuk from Mishlei to prove it. And Rabbi Then Rabbi Levi says, and what about, but there's an even better pasuk. Chana al yedei shevrita b'tfilat tzara yamash Shmuel. But there's also a price for praying and praying and praying and praying and praying for the same thing. Because Chana davened so much, the days of Shmuel were shortened. Shene'emar vayeshev sham al olam ad olamo shel Levim. That how long did Shmuel live? Shmuel only lived till he was 50 years old. Okay?
Because she prayed so much.
Because she prayed, when a person prays extensively for something, right? And they don't stop. So they're answered. But they might not be answered in the way that they think they're going to be, because again, this is Hashem changing the whole plan. The whole plan is being redone. So it's just an interesting thing. You know, sometimes we daven very hard for something specific. Like a person could daven for a specific house, a specific job, a specific shidduch, okay? Or to have a specific type of child or a grandchild. It doesn't matter what. When you daven for something very specific, and when it says daven a lot, I don't think we're going to get there, right? I mean, we're all holy people, but Chana's davening a lot is not our davening, okay? That it might not work out exactly the way that we think it's going to work out. Okay, we know that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, stop davening, right? Because if you daven one more tefillah, you're going to go into Eretz Yisrael, and it's not going to be good for anybody, right? It's the results are not going to be good. So there's something to, yes, the person could daven, and that's going back to your question before, right? Which we didn't answer yet, which we didn't even start answering yet, which is the Medrash says that part of Chana's tefillah was that she says, Hashem, if you don't give me a child, then I am going to turn myself into an innocent Isha Sota. What's an Isha Sota? A husband who warns his wife, do not have yichud with this specific man, okay? And he does it b'shem u'b'kinui. There's a way of doing it, okay? It says in the Shulchan Aruch, today a man is not allowed to do it. It's usher. But if he does it, it holds, okay? Now at that point, the woman would be called, and then if two Eidim see her having yichud, seclusion, with the specific man that she was warned not to have seclusion with, okay? Then she's officially called an Isha Sota. What's an Isha Sota? She has to be brought to the Beit HaMikdash, and there she has to drink the Mei Sota and bring a specific korban, okay? And the Mei Sota has all kinds of ingredients. I don't want to get into it right now. And she drinks it in front of the Kohen. And if she committed this adultery, then she blows up and explodes. And if she didn't commit adultery, then the Kohen Gadol gives her a blessing that within a year she should have a male child with her husband. And they should have shalom and shalva, and everything should go well. Now, Chana said, well, I have a great plan, Hashem. If you don't give me a child, then I will tell my husband to warn me, to do kinui, to put me in a position where he forbids me to have seclusion, yichud, with this specific man. I will then seclude myself with that specific man in front of Eidim. I won't sin. Elkanah will take me to Shiloh. I'll drink from the Mei Sota, and then the Kohen will have to bless me, and I'll have a child, right? That takes guts, right? It's a great. So it's an interesting plan, right? It's an interesting plan. Now Hashem said Beseder, right? You don't have to go that far. You know, Hashem said yes to her. What? She was going through the back door, huh? But what was that all about? Meaning, how could you say that to Hashem? How could you plan a sin? It's a very severe sin, right? How can you plan a sin? They're actually today, the halacha is, or Rabbeinu Yerucham teaches us that if a man does that, and there have been cases that a man has said that, right? He said to his wife, in a halachic way, that if you have seclusion with this specific man, then I'm warning you not to have seclusion. You'll be a isha sota. And let's say she does seclude herself with that man, right? Then that's it. They're forbidden one to another, and they have to get divorced.
Even if she doesn't.
Even if she doesn't sin, we have no way of knowing if she sinned or if she didn't. The halacha assumes if someone had seclusion with somebody, they sinned. That's the halachic idea, okay? Because you never have witnesses that are going to see if they actually sinned or not, right? Where are you going to find witnesses for that? Okay, so they're going to be smarter than that. But if there's a list in the Shulchan Aruch of different things that if they do certain actions or certain witnesses see them doing certain things, like going into a room and locking the door, then we assume that they sinned. Okay, so we're not going to kill somebody because of that, right? We're not going to, but they're forbidden to each other. And Rabbeinu Rucham says, even if there's one witness, they have to get divorced. Even if, because today we have no way of being mevar. That's why the Shulchan Aruch says that it's a sur for a man to do that today. I'm not sure. Okay, that's a whole different discussion. Let's leave that for now. So we have to understand what was going on there. Like, what is Chana saying here? Before we get to that, okay, Midaberes al liba, she's speaking of her heart. She's speaking from her heart. She's speaking words of her heart. She's in touch. She's very, very in touch with what's going on with her emotionally. We said last week also that tzaddikim rishonim, the earlier tzaddikim, they used to shoim sha'achat. They would contemplate tefillah for an hour before they davened. So I'm sure everybody did something different or whatever they did. But imagine if we could just take a few minutes before we davened, right, and just be like, what am I really feeling today, right? What do I really want to express to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And sometimes it takes time to get to that place of what am I really feeling today? I'm feeling joyous. I'm feeling repressed. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling grateful. Like I'm feeling all of the above at the same, right? Which is the complicated part, right? It's not just how are you feeling today, those like great smileys, the chart of like 36 different ways that we feel, right? So all of that is very nice, but we're feeling like a combination of all of those things, okay? And then they need to add one for like very hormonal women, like I just want to face it, like I want to kill everybody I see. I've never seen a chart with that one on it. Okay, stay out of my way. V'chana medaberes al liba rak sfotea naot v'kolo lo yishma. Her lips are moving, and her voice is not heard. V'yichshaveh Eli l'shikora, and Eli thinks of her as drunk. So last week, this is where we really stopped, and I started to tell you about a Likutei Sichos, a Sicha from Lubavitcher Rebbe from 1975, from Rosh Hashanah, where he talks about this conversation that happens now between Eli and Chana, where what this conversation really is the conversation between every person in themselves when they daven. So it's actually it's an 18-page translated sicha. So I'm not printing it for everybody. But I want to focus on part of it. So let's we'll read inside the conversation between Chana and Eli, and then we'll see how the Rebbe says it's a conversation that we all have with ourselves. It's the struggle of prayer that's going on here. Vayomer Eleha, and Eli turns to Chana and says to her, Ad masai tashtakuim, until when are you going to be drunk? Hasiri es yinech me'alayich, remove your yayin, remove your wine from you. In other words, like, be realistic. Like, could you reality check, right? It's not going to happen when pigs fly, whatever, blue moon, whatever expression you want to use, right? Could you just be realistic? Could you stop being in this la la land? Vatan Chana, and Chana answers, Vatomer lo adoni, isha kshas ruach hanoichi, v'yayin v'shek lo shasisi. I am a kshas ruach. What does kshas ruach mean? Okay, so kshas ruach, I'm trying to figure out how to translate that. It means hard-winded. I would put it along the words as stubborn, okay? And the way that she's answering him is, no, I'm not drunk, I'm stubborn. Do you understand the difference? There's a huge difference between stubborn and drunk. Stubborn, we're all stubborn. That's our nationality, right? We're am kshe oref, that's what we're called. When a convert wants to come and to convert to Judaism, how do we test to know if their soul really is from the Jewish nation? We check to find out if they're stubborn or not, right? Because we say no, and if they keep coming back, then they're proving that their soul is the soul of a Jew who's stubborn, okay? So she's saying, no, I'm not drunk, I'm stubborn. The difference between drunk and stubborn is that stubborn, right, is in reality, right? They're not drunk, they're not in la la land. No, I know with my faculties, this is knowledge to me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Ein Sof. This is not, I'm out of my senses. I'm in my senses, and I understand, but I'm a tough cookie, right? And I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do this, not from a place of drunkenness, of not being in touch with reality, but from being in touch with reality. All I'm doing is pouring out my soul before Hashem. Don't think that I am a bad person, right? Don't think that I'm drunk, that I'm not engaged in reality. No, I'm a good person for keeping, that I keep davening, that I believe that Hashem is Ein Sof. Because, and please forgive me for the way I'm speaking to you now, because of I'm talking too much, kind of, the chasi and my anger, I have spoken until now. Vayan Eli Vayomer, and what does Eli say, sir? Lechila Shalom, go in peace. Velokei Israel yitain es shelasech, and may Hashem, the God of Israel, He will grant your wish, asher sha'alta me'imo, which you asked from Him. Vatomer timtza shifa, and she said to him, may your maidservant find favor in your eyes. And she went on her way. And she didn't have this sour face anymore. Okay, this is the discussion between Eli and Chana. So the Rebbe, we don't have a lot of time now, but we'll start. So part of it I'll read to you, and part of it I'll just summarize. Okay. So what it says here is the Rebbe focuses on the inner conflict in the Sikha that follows, using the story of Chana's prayer described in the Haftorah as a starting point. He draws our attention to the larger picture, to what Rosh Hashanah really involves, crowning God as king over all existence. And he explains how God's sovereignty is all-encompassing, including all the details of our own personal lives. Okay, so what does it have to do with what we just spoke about? So it's actually very clear, because there's a question on Rosh Hashanah, what do we daven for? We could ask the same question now too. Today, what do I daven for today? Do I daven for my own petty needs? Do I daven for what I need today? We're in a crisis, right? We're in a war. We're in a war on our existence. Should I stand before Hashem today, and we're in days of judgment, and ask for things that I need, right? I need that there be the right kind of flour in the makolet now. Can I ask that from Hashem today, right? Can I ask Hashem that there should be normal cucumbers, right? Can I ask that? Do I have a right to? Or maybe right now, all my tefillah should be focused on the Yeda Kol Pa'u Ki Ata Fe'alto, that the world should have complete consciousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what about on Rosh Hashanah? On Rosh Hashanah, all of our tefillos, most of our tefillos are all asking, it's all talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Hashem, Hashem, Hashem. Do I have a right on Rosh Hashanah to talk about me? And if I start talking about me on Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe says, is that not taking away, like, isn't that narcissistic? Like, I'm like taking up all the space in the room. Rosh Hashanah, Hashem's sovereignty, Hashem's malchus is supposed to take up all of the space in the room. So is it about me, or is it about Hashem? Who is this day about? So in my tefillah today, is this about me? Is this about Klal Yisrael? Is this about Hashem? Where do I fit into this picture in days like today, in days like Rosh Hashanah? Is it, the more I ask for my personal needs, right, the more it's about who again? It's about me, versus it being about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, what the Rebbe goes on to say is, he says that, well, that's exactly the beauty of Chana. of her tefillah. Remember we said there's the neder and there's the tefillah combined. And what was the neder? The child that you give to me, what am I going to do with it? I'm giving it right back to you, right? This is what we say in Nishmas Kolchai. Evarm shepilakta bana, ruach v'neshama shenafachta ba'apenu. Hein heim yodu v'yivarchu v'yishabchu. The soul needs the body, right? The soul needs the body. The soul cannot do mitzvahs without the body, okay? Someone chalila who can't walk, there are mitzvahs that they're limited. They cannot do every mitzvah, right? There's somebody who can't hear, chalila, someone who can't see, someone who's not healthy cannot perform all of the mitzvahs, right? I think they said that for the last year of the Chavetz Chaim's life, he was barely able to put on tefillin because he had certain illness which prevented him from wearing tefillin. So we need our body to be healthy. We need our body to be in partnership with our soul. We need physical things because without physical things, we cannot do mitzvahs, right? We can't. But what we're asking for, we want to give back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not about me. This changes the tefillah from Chana. It's not about me, Chana, having a baby like everybody else. That's not what this tefillah is about. This tefillah is about me being able, Hashem, enable me to give back to you. I have nothing to give. Or even if I have other things to give, I want to contribute to the world in this way. This is a painful thing for me that I cannot give to you, Hashem, in this way. So Hashem, I need these things, whatever it is, right? Fill in, by Chana it was a baby. By all of us it's something different. I need this parnasa, I need this health, right? I need this nachat for my children, or at least not this painful experience, right? This is all, I want to give back to you, Hashem. In this challenge, in this area, but I can't because I don't have the kelim to do it. I need you, Hashem, to give me the kelim to anoint you, to declare to the world that everything comes from you. So when we bring, that's the consciousness that we're looking for on Rosh Hashanah. So therefore on Rosh Hashanah, we ask for things that we need. We ask for health. We ask for parnasa. We ask for nachat from our children. We ask for whatever we need physically, right? But at the same time, how do we ask for it? Chana style. Hashem, you're giving to me, I'm giving back to you. I want more ways to anoint you as king over my life. Now this takes a tremendous amount of work, a tremendous amount of consciousness to be able to say, Hashem, these are things that I need, but I need them for you. Now, everyone is on a different madrega in this, right? The madrega of Chana is like, whoa, there's completely no self there. Okay, there's no self. We're not all, I don't think, maybe you are, right? I'm not there, okay? I have a self. Okay, so how do I train myself to start asking for things to give back? First of all, that's the power of Nishmas Kochai, by the way. Again, it's all about giving back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And number two is that the real way to do this is consciousness, right? And being conscious at all times. And that story that we opened up with that woman who's saying, Ani mugenet, I'm protected, right? That is like a tremendous level of consciousness. Tremendous level of consciousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the gifts that war brings, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson said on that incredible, it's very, very long, but it's worth it. It's just something that you can't listen to, in my opinion, you can't listen to it in one shot. It needs to be broken down into bite-sized and digested. But one of the things he said in war is that war clarifies boundaries. War brings consciousness. It says, wait a second, what exactly are we fighting? Where are the boundaries? What borders and what boundaries have been broken here? It forces us to clarify very clearly who is our enemy and who is not, and where are our boundaries and where they're not. You know, one of the problems with the war that we're facing is that this is not a war between people. This is a war between an ideology. Hamas is not one person, right? Hamas is an ideology. It's an ideology which does not just exist in Gaza. It exists amongst ourselves, within us. The ideology of not being proud and really proud and connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we're Jewish, that we're living in the chosen land which was chosen by God to give to us, that this is our destiny, and that yes, we are the chosen nation, and yes, we are different, and yes, we are all connected, and yes, we all have the same destiny, all of us, which is to glorify Hashem's name in this specific place. So when we begin to adopt the ideology of Hamas, which is that some people are better than others, you're not the chosen nation, maybe not all of you are the chosen nation. No, they didn't knock on the door and say, excuse me, who did you vote for, right? When they decided. They see us all as equals, right? There's no difference between somebody who's religious, not religious. So when we fall into the trap of all of a sudden thinking that, well, maybe, I don't know, what's my identity? Who am I? And we begin to lose consciousness. That's the ideal consciousness that we belong here as a nation, together, united, each person serving and glorifying Hashem's way, Hashem's name in their way. When we buy into their ideology that we don't belong here because we have no special destiny, that's when we're losing the war. It's an ideological war, which is something, it's hard to swallow. Say it's hard to swallow as a mother of now 3. My 3rd son was called up from America, and we brought him. He landed really close to Shabbos, made it half an hour before Hadlakat Hanerot Tzfat, and Sunday we brought him almost to his basis. His basis is where he has to be, is on the border of Gaza and Egypt, which we weren't going all the way down there. Thank you. We didn't bring him all the way down. We brought him halfway there, and then an amazing man named Aaron Granot, who really is the father to like hundreds of chayalim, took him the rest of the way because it worked out perfectly. He was going there anyway. I mean, there's nothing they can do. What are they going to do to them? Come get them? But he was waiting for his. No. I think officially, if you're in a Chutz La'aretz, then it's I don't think they could force somebody from Chutz La'aretz to come to Miluim, but he was waiting for his. I mean, the difference was last week he would have had to pay for his own ticket, and then the army paid for his ticket. One way, they don't pay for his ticket back. Which I'm bad, I'm for. Okay, no problem. But the battle is an ideological one. You eliminate 10,000 terrorists until we eliminate the ideology from within ourselves, then we haven't won the war.
Wondering if it's all really
our own denial of our destiny, that we're the chosen nation and this is the chosen land and designated by God for all Jews, right? For every single Jewish person, not just those of us who we think in our definition glorify God's name, but every Jew that lives in Israel is glorifying God's name because they're Jewish and they have an identity of being Jewish, and maybe it's not what we think is the exact thing, but that is our destiny. That's God's plan. So when we're fighting the ideological war, we need to be on the receiving end of saying we are the chosen nation. Every person who is Jewish is part of this chosen nation. This is the chosen land. That's defeating the Hamas, because you can kill 10,000. Every single Hamasnik we could destroy Gaza, right? We could just drop some kind of big bombs, bunker busters, whatever they have, all the stuff that America just sent, My son got a new tank yesterday, brand new, took off the nylonim. Is a cave. It's like Star Wars. You should know it's really like Star Wars. They have like a shield, a ray shield around the new tank. Like it's not normal what they've had. We could have all of that. Ela barecha ve'ela basusim. Va'anachnu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu naskir. Naskir. We have to remember what? That we're the chosen nation, and this is our land, and it's our destiny to serve and glorify Hashem's name together from this place.
I've heard they say that we're like all of our skills and all the beauty what we tell it. If they're going out to do the actual like physical fighting, we're all of us are like tell them. That's like keeps them going and shomer right now.
And energy, the energy.
Like you said, it comes from that place of knowing that this is our land, this is our destiny, and they're just asleep. We're not on us, but that it's us that's keeping them checked with all that energy that's going after them. He said that knowing the truth inside of ourselves, the more we strengthen ourselves, the more it strengthens them.
And that's our job right now, to pray like Chana, shot ruach, stubborn. We are one stubborn people. We're not giving up on our destiny. We're not giving up on our dream. We're not giving up on our hope. And it's not drunkenness. It's reality. Because this is what it is. And we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Ein Sof. Okay, but next week I'm not going to be here, but the week afterwards we're continuing. That's Hashem.
Yeah.